So just recently I decided to finally bite the bullet and get an Analogue Pocket. I waited a while before buying one as I wanted to make sure it was worth the money, and sadly I've been having one issue with the handheld that all roots down to the device's D-pad. Put simply, it's not a very good D-pad. In fact, I find it somewhat unusable for certain games. And I know that's probably going to get this video disliked as there's a lot of people who really like the Analogue Pocket and they insist that its controls are fine, and to a casual user who is not nitpicky, they probably are. But for me personally, I found it to be very noticeable. This D-pad problem also seems to pop up every few weeks on Reddit as people fight back and forth on whether the D-pad is faulty. And while it seems a lot of people are split on that topic, as some insist that the device's controls are fine while others downright refuse to use them. And when watching most popular reviews online, barely any of them go into depth with the D-pad controls. I watched a handful of reviews before buying my Pocket and I really didn't see much discussion over the D-pad, which made me wonder how much the people who reviewed the Analogue Pocket actually used it, because admittedly when I first had the device I didn't really notice. It was only after about a week that I really started to feel like the D-pad was either not picking up my responses or misinputting when trying to go diagonally. This can be seen especially on games like Pokemon Fire Red, where I'm holding down the button here but my character sometimes just randomly stops for a few seconds because the D-pad is not picking up my input. Other titles like Contra Advance also struggle with the D-pad as shooting diagonally is very difficult and oftentimes does not register properly, making this game very awkward to play, especially when you're used to the original Super Nintendo controller. And just off the top of my head, some other games that struggle with the Analogue's D-pad are titles like the original Pac-Man where a missed input kills you, or Super Metroid where the wall jumping can be really awkward. And this is all caused by bad padding underneath the D-pad. Even comparing the handheld to various other devices, the D-pad does not feel as responsive compared to my original DS, my DSi, and even my PS Vita. Also on a side note, the Analogue's D-pad has a lot of wiggle room, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but still worth noting. Now luckily the D-pad on the Analogue can be fixed with custom modifications, but at the end of the day this is a premium product, and people shouldn't have to do that when they're paying over $250 US for this handheld. And that really sucks because otherwise I really like the Pocket. It's just unfortunate that the device lacks in this area because a good D-pad can really make or break an experience. So to conclude, I'd still recommend the Analogue Pocket, but for someone who is picky or specific with their controls, they might not be happy with the end product because it really limits what games you can play. Still, this video is not intended to hate on the Analogue Pocket, but to provide some criticism on its control schemes, which hopefully down the road can be improved. I'm still having a blast playing through various titles on my Pocket, and I just hope that this video can provide some insight to those who might be wondering if the device is right for them. So with all that said, I just want to say thanks for watching this far. Please subscribe if you like my content, and I'll see you down the road.